everyone. My name's Evie Martin. I'm still the lead pastor here at Flatwoods Church. Welcome to all of you here. Welcome to those of you worshiping with us online this morning. For those of you that are maybe new within the last 8 weeks, welcome. I'm the lead pastor here. You haven't met me, but I'm so excited to meet you today after worship or sometime in the weeks to come. I have been on 8 weeks of renewal leave, granted by this church, granted by my supervisor, my district superintendent, and it has been wonderful, and I'm so grateful for the blessing of rest. After serving here for 5.5 years, it was a lot of time of rest and reflection and renewal. You'll hear about pieces of it, I'm sure, in weeks to come, but just so grateful for that time of rest, and it's good to be back. It's really good to be back. We'll see if I remember how to do this. So I need to know, let's see, I got Candace helping me out back here. Students, I need a young person. I need a young person to tell me what your everyday dishes look like. What do you eat off of every day at home? Can someone describe your everyday dishes?
Plates.
Okay. Can you, maybe a little more detail. Like, what do they look like?
Their color.
Oh, no.
Is there a pattern? What color are they? What is the shape? Do we have anything?
Do you know what they look like?
Green plastic plates.
Green plastic plates. Okay, great. That's great. Now I need a grown-up, maybe someone with more years under their belt, to tell me what did your childhood everyday plates look like? I need a grown-up. Describe your childhood everyday plates. Tupperware. We got Tupperware down here. Yeah.
They were white and they had light green flowers around the outside.
Yeah, that's great. They're white, light green flowers. You remember?
Yeah.
You remember? Excellent. A lot of green. We have a green theme going on here. I bet that every one of you can remember the plates you ate off of as a kid, no matter how old you are. Whether they were a cute, trendy pattern that happened to be in style when your parents set up their wedding registry, or practical plastic melamine dishes that would stand up to the tyranny of toddlers. Or maybe paper plates and takeout containers because your single parent worked long hours and you were active in sports, so everyone always ate on the go. Whatever your dishes, I bet you remember them. Because even though they play only a supporting role to our food plates, they were still central to the rhythm and the nourishment of our days, of our lives. These everyday dishes weren't the only ones that we used. Maybe there were special dishes for special occasions, a birthday plate. Anyone have a special birthday plate? Yeah, there's a few of those out there. Or fancy china for holidays or when company came over. There was the special gigantic bowl for popcorn on movie nights, right? But the everyday plates are the ones that stay with us. They were steady, reliable, ordinary. They set our daily tables. This month is a time when culturally we're thinking a lot about food in more ways than one. We traditionally gather intentionally with family or with friends or with people we love, or at least try to love, to eat all kinds of bizarre foods that we don't eat any other time of year. And we don't just do this on Thanksgiving Day now, but we do it nearly all month long. Our Riverside United site had their Friendsgiving just last night. My neighbors are hosting another one this Saturday, and we're still nearly 2 weeks out from actual Thanksgiving Day. So I'm gonna have to make the permanent shift to sweatpants very soon. Got an elastic waist this morning, I'm just giving it all up. All right. And at the same time that we're thinking about the abundance of food, our hearts also turn toward people whose refrigerators are empty, who subsist on a packet of oatmeal each day to ensure that their kids have enough food from what was distributed. We collected and donated 85 Thanksgiving food boxes for families through our Platte County Food Pantry partner. We will continue to collect and focus on how to help our neighbors who struggle this holiday season, knowing now that our government is no longer committed to food security for its people, but will instead readily use food as a convenient political weapon for leverage, leaving the hungry and the impoverished to be the casualties of their fight. Food has been and is at the center of our conversations. Our tables are at the center of this season. And if you've been following along this month, you already know that tables are at the center of Jesus' ministry too. So we have homed in on the tables that we find in Jesus' stories. What do people receive from Jesus' tables? What are they like? What do we learn there for our own lives? And how might that change the table of our own lives? Both our literal physical tables and our metaphorical ones as we gather and shape community with other flawed and faithful people. We learned from Pastor Cassie in week 1 that Jesus' tables are open. There is no group or individual, no exclusion clause to who is welcome where Jesus eats. And in week 2, Pastor Matt described how awkward Jesus' tables are. That the extravagance of love found there for all different kinds of people is surprising and unsettling for us sometimes. It can be outlandish enough to cause a scene. And today, I'll invite you to imagine Jesus' table with every place set with those childhood dishes you remembered a moment ago. Jesus' tables are ordinary. Cue Alex Warren, right? Ordinary. Often when we think of Jesus' tables, we go straight to our communion table, which, of course, calls us to a particular special meal that we now call Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples. That was a special meal then, too, within Jesus' Jewish tradition. In paintings, we sometimes see this table as lavish and full and grand, but Jesus had a lot more meals than that special one. In fact, as Pastor Cassie mentioned in week 1, the Gospel of Luke is chock full of stories of Jesus at all kinds of tables. There were Shabbat or Sabbath meals every week, of course, some of those written about, but all of them presumably observed by Jesus. There were meals with leaders, meals with friends, wedding banquets, massive picnics outside. We'll talk about those next week. Parables about meals that didn't go as planned. In Jesus' life and ministry, there are so many tables. And at the end of the Gospel of Luke, we get a reprise of the whole table theme as the book draws to an end. We're in Luke chapter 24. If you have a Bible with you, or if you have the Bible app and want to look it up on your phone, Luke chapter 24, Jesus has been crucified, laid in the tomb, and then mysteriously vanished from the tomb. And in Luke's version of the story, no one has seen Jesus post-resurrection yet. Only angels have appeared outside the tomb to announce to some women that he is risen. And then the scene shifts dramatically to another location entirely. A few miles away, 2 followers of Jesus are walking down a road, away from Jerusalem toward a place called Emmaus. One of them is named Cleopas, and the other one remains unnamed. They're recounting all that has happened in the days prior, and they're trying to make sense out of it all, including the women's testimony about a possible resurrection. And suddenly, Jesus joins them on their walk and says, "What's up? What are y'all talking about?" But they don't recognize him as Jesus. So they fill him in on their conversation, incredulous that anyone in this vicinity didn't know all that had transpired. And Jesus goes on to take their story and then explain it all in the context of the Hebrew Scriptures, demonstrating clearly how Jesus and his death and resurrection were all fulfillment of those Scriptures. His companions were amazed, but still didn't recognize him. They arrived at Emmaus as night was falling, so the 2 travelers invited Jesus in to eat and stay. He obliges, and then he sits down at their table as guest, but immediately picks up the bread and takes on the role of host. In verse 28, here's what happens. When they came to Emmaus, he acted as if he was going on ahead, but they urged him, saying, "Stay with us. It's nearly evening. The day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. After he took his seat at the table with them, he took the bread. He blessed it. He broke it, and he gave it to them. Their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, but he disappeared from their sight. The This is a literal epiphany moment. Their eyes were opened, Luke says. They could see what they thought they would never be able to see again. They saw Jesus right there with them. This was an everyday dishes moment. They recognized something so familiar, so central to their experience at Jesus' table, so ingrained in their memories of Jesus, that suddenly they could see him clearly. At an ordinary table, in an ordinary house, on an ordinary weekday evening, with an ordinary loaf of bread. An ordinary staple at every meal, one he had picked up 100 times before to bless, to break, to give. Jesus didn't plan a major feast after his resurrection to show up and surprise everyone with fanfare and balloons and champagne fountains and a DJ. He didn't send out special invitations and stop all the activities of a day to make sure that everyone knew about the party. He didn't even show up for a Sabbath meal, which was a little more special than the other meals of the week. He was made known to them in the everyday, ordinary, in what was familiar to them, in their own space, in their own rhythm of life. He was made known to them in the breaking of the bread, which they would eat every day, which we eat every day still, broadly speaking. The ordinary essentials of life are where Jesus wants to meet us. What's more, these were ordinary people. Think about it. These weren't even the brand name disciples. They were the generic version. One of them had a name, Cleopas, but we don't know who that is. The other doesn't even get named, nor are they identified by gender. Ordinary, regular folks. This is the table where Jesus chose to sit down and eat first in his resurrected body. And maybe that unnamed, ungendered, undescribed disciple is the door that swings open to us. Maybe they aren't named so that our names can be filled in that blank, so that we can be the ones to encounter Jesus at our tables in the everyday ordinary of our lives. I think for many of us in our spiritual journey of trying our very best to follow Jesus, we yearn for the magnificent moments. We believe the best spiritual stuff is the big stuff, the mountaintop moments, the euphoric revelations when we experience the presence of God in mysterious and palpable ways. We even long for these lightning bolts to be defined chapter titles in our stories of faith. We expect to find God in the grandiose and the sensational, and those moments do exist. Baptisms, revelations, hearing a call from God, those are part of many people's spiritual stories. I have had a few even in my own life. But the reality is, the vast majority of a spiritual journey is just ordinary. It's rhythm and ritual, it's pattern and repetition. It's worshiping together week in and week out. It's offering our prayers with enough waiting in between that we wonder if anyone's listening. It's reading the same Bible verses again and again over a lifetime. It's hurting when others hurt. It's laughing when others laugh. It's serving and caring, giving and resting. It's working and playing, as Jesus taught us to do. It's eating off the same dishes every day. Our commitment, our following of Jesus, the way, the truth, the life is ordinary in a world that over-celebrates the extraordinary. And so we ought to take deep delight in what Jesus does at the table at Emmaus. We ought to marvel at the profoundness of Jesus' love, that he would show up to them, show up to us in the most ordinary of places. Not at the temple, in a home. Not in a 7-layer cake masterpiece, in a simple loaf of bread. Not on a mountaintop or from a throne, at a table. Jesus picked the table to be the place where we could count on meeting him over and over again, because he knew we would be there too, every day. And he invites us to come there together, because when we look at one another, ordinary people gathered there, we remember what he looks like. Jesus didn't need to put on a show to show his love for us, to let us experience how close he is to us. He didn't need to bring out the fancy dishes. We don't need them either. Our ordinary tables can be places of love and grace and presence too. The tables that we share literally in our own homes, in our schools, in our workplaces, here in our practice of communion, these are tables we can set with openness, with humility and simplicity. Love is made known through macaroni and cheese just as easily as filet mignon, when you show up with grace and warmth for all who sit down with you. But this is just as true for the tables of our lives that aren't a space for food, but the places that we step into with other people. The ordinary moments and rhythms of our lives can become recognizable as experiences of love and grace too. How you greet and treat your coworkers every day may never be a lightning bolt experience, but maybe over time it sets a table of grace in their life that they couldn't even see at first. How you choose to be generous with your time and your money isn't always a grandiose donation or occasion, but your ordinary rhythm of giving sets a table of grace in the life of a community member who's struggling. How you practice patience with your children or with others in your life who test it doesn't get recognition or praise, but your consistency in this thankless, ordinary act sets a table of grace for the people who depend on you to teach and to guide them. Jesus is with us in our ordinary spaces. When we recognize him there, we see just how simple it is to invite others to sit there with him too. In the last years of my grandparents living in their home before downsizing to assisted living, my grandmother had this false graph pattern for her everyday dishes. Anybody recognize that? Has anyone seen that one? I think it's called tea rose or something. I didn't have any particular feelings about this pattern or the dishes one way or another. I thought they were pretty, but they were just ordinary dishes from which we ate a lot of meals together. When she moved and then later passed away, my cousin ended up with the set, as I had already acquired my own everyday dishes for my household, totally fine. I had other things of my grandmother's that were meaningful to me. A few weeks ago, I was dropping off some donations at Hillcrest, as we all do, and they handed me a coupon for the clearance outlet, and not one to pass up a coupon, I wandered in. I needed nothing. I had no shopping goals in mind. But I found myself in the back corner room of dishes and plates and vases and the like, and my scanning gaze came to a halt when I spotted this shelf. Grandma's false graph tea rose pattern on these adorable milk jars, and there are vases too, not pictured. Do you know what happened within me? I lit up with joy. I was overwhelmed by an immediate warmth in my heart. I was transported back to Grandma's kitchen and the cozy little table by the window with the weird vinyl cushions on the seats. I could hear her voice and her laugh. I could feel her embrace and see her smiling eyes? Just from her everyday, ordinary dishes. She was right there with me again, and I was right there with her. How much more, then, can we step into the presence of Jesus and feel his embrace and see his compassionate eyes, hear his words of love, because he knew well enough to give us the gift of his ordinary table, set with ordinary food, on ordinary plates with ordinary people, knowing that we would be back again and again and again. We gather today at Christ's table, a table which does not belong to us, but to all, to anyone who is drawn to receive the gift of God's timeless love for us, of Christ's forgiveness pouring over us, of the Spirit's movement still among us. All are welcome to share in this table today, whether it's your first time here or whether you've been here your whole life. I'll invite you to join with me in our prayer of great thanksgiving. It is the whole story of God's love for us. Your responses will be on the screen, sometimes spoken, sometimes sung, but let us begin by singing together.
Come and remember who you are here. Do this to remember who I am. Come and remember you belong here. All belong here.
The Lord be with you. Lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You set the stage of our world, placed stars and tides and microbes into motion, set each blade of grass and each hair of our head into place. Without fail, you are God. The story has been told by generations of faithful, how your people turned from you, how they were lost in the world, how they were enslaved in Egypt, how you freed them, how they wandered in the wilderness and how you gave them a home, how they wanted a king, how you gave them prophets, how they were exiled and how you brought them home again. Through trial and tumult, crisis and chaos, they told the story always. Without fail, you are God. Therefore, we praise you. We join our voices with choirs of angels and with all the ordinary saints who have finished their race before us and sing forever to the glory of your name. Holy, holy, holy Lord, God of power and might, heaven and earth are full of your glory. Hosanna in the highest, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. In time, you sent Jesus to walk among us, who was your very presence with us, teaching and healing and forgiving sins, who showed us what true faithfulness is. Even faced with death, he proclaimed, "Not my will, but yours be done." And while his light was extinguished for 3 dark days, he rose again to show that everlasting to everlasting, without fail, you are God. And on the night in which he gave himself up for us, Jesus took bread and gave thanks to you. He broke the bread and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body, which is given for you." And then he took the cup and gave thanks to you. He gave it to his disciples and said, "Drink from this, all of you. This is my blood. It's a new promise poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins." In his resurrection light, gathered at his ordinary table, we proclaim together the mystery of faith. Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ will come again. Gracious God, pour out your Holy Spirit on us and upon these gifts, your bread and your wine, that the bread we break together and the cup we share will remind us that in ordinary things, your love is found. In ordinary lives, your grace is known. and in ordinary days we can find your presence. Keep us breaking bread together without ceasing, in joy and in faith, until you return to this world you love, this earth you made, and this people you cherish. Until that day, we lift our prayers to you in your Son's name, as he taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Because there is one loaf, we who are many are one body. The bread which we break is a sharing in the body of Christ. The cup over which we give thanks is a sharing in the blood of Christ. All are welcome to come and receive this gift, and as our servers come forward, you also will be invited to come forward to receive communion today. As you come down the aisle closest to you, if you'll hold out your hands as if receiving a gift, you'll be given a piece of bread, and you can then dip it into the cup and take both together. If you need gluten-free elements, we have those available. Just let your server know, and they will give that to you. And if mobility is a challenge for you today, simply catch the attention of one of our hospitality hosts, and we'll be sure to bring communion to you. The table has been set. As you come forward now, we sing together.
Come and remember who you are here. Do this to